Good morning, everybody. It is your pal Choppadong coming at you with another episode of Chop Talk from DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things DFS, from content to tools to optimized lineups to every single thing you can possibly think of, from MLB to NASCAR, PGA, MMA, WNBA, now EPL. All the sports are covered by 20 coaches, 20 contributors, and over 1,500 members, always talking DFS 24/7. The most interactive site you can possibly find on the internet. That is the community that we've built. That's the community I represent. And I want to welcome you into sort of the Memorial Day edition. I'm going to be taking a few days off, working more behind the scenes, and I'm going to take a break from the writing, and we're going to let the other coaches and contributors jump out front and service our members as we go. And speaking of service, I'll dive into the Memorial Day stuff here in just a second, but I do want to take pause on special weekends like this and remember exactly why we get to do what we do. And the reason why is obviously because some people have paid the ultimate price in protecting our freedom. And it is absolutely no joke. This is a political world. I don't like living in it. I don't like the you're on this side, so I must hate you, and I'm on that side, so you got to hate me stuff. Why can't we just all get along? There are people out there that, whether they voted for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or even Bernie Sanders, it doesn't matter. They voted for who they voted for, and they're out there protecting our lives and our right to vote against them every single day. And some of them have paid the ultimate. They don't get to play DFS on the weekends. They don't get to barbecue with their families. They don't get to come home and see their kids, or come home and see their brothers and sisters, or come home and see their mother or father. And there's a ton of people out there that can talk all they want to about the politics behind it all. I just want to remember the reason that I get to play DFS is because some of those guys paid the ultimate price, and I am forever grateful. So please join me in pouring a beer out for one of those guys this weekend while you're doing your family barbecue stuff, because again, we couldn't be doing what we're doing without the price they paid. Okay, so that aside, I do want to dive into a little bit of chin music this morning, walk you through this little chart down here as we find the chart of pitching and whatnot. But first, let's dive in really quickly to the lineups page and see if we can't find any slates. I talked about San Francisco being a sneaky stack today. That is on the all-day slate, not the main slate, obviously, with the 2:20 start time. I also made a boneheaded mistake in Sergio Romo, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. But look here, we're looking for wind blowing out, we're looking for good hitters parks, we're looking for high implied totals. We're just kind of taking a quick scan, and when I scroll down a little bit more, you can do this on your own. When I scroll down a little bit more, I'm looking for the 8 o'clock starts. That often signifies the express slate. So when I see an 8 o'clock start here, I'm looking for chalk pitching in these 8 o'clock games. This might be a slate that I attack, it might not be. We have to review it and take a look. Mike Minor isn't like phenomenal, but you know what? It's not Coors Field, and he at 6.8K would allow me to get into Coors Field for the bats. Noah Syndergaard will not. Noah Syndergaard may or may not even be the chalk on a 3-game slate because of Coors Field. Okay? And there's one thing to talk about when it comes to Coors Field, and that's the first game fade. What is the first game fade? The first game fade is a theory. And the theory suggests that when you've been on a long road trip and you're bouncing in and out of Coors Field, now these other teams don't get a long enough period of time to maybe adjust their eyes. They don't get used to how the ball doesn't break quite as much in Coors Field. The Rockies do. And so when the Rockies leave and get out on the road, all of a sudden the ball's breaking a little bit more than it was yesterday or for the last 4 or 5 games at home. And when the Rockies come back home from a long road trip, all of a sudden the ball's breaking less. It's easier to miss the barrel of the bat that way. If your eye is trained to think that curveball's going here, then you might miss by that quarter inch or half inch that leads to pop-ups and subpar offensive days. Now, again, it's just a theory, but today's a great day to test that theory because it's not like the Rockies have been going all that well anyway. So if they're not going all that well anyway, and then they come home and they fall flat on their faces, let everybody else go take the Rockies. This is a viable opportunity to fade Coors Field and take other bats. Maybe you take, some Scooter Gennett or Cincinnati. Maybe you come up here to Texas and blast the Royals and Eric Skoglund. Maybe you come over here to the Mets and you don't think that Junior Guerra's any good, so you stack them up again in a hitter's park against the Brew Crew. Maybe you take the Brewers and think they're going to get to Noah Syndergaard. Whatever. There's a lot of viable options on 3-game slates, and it doesn't take monster scores to win most times. They're great training grounds for people who are learning where's the chalk going to be. And this is not an easy one to decipher, don't get me wrong, but where's the chalk going to be and how can I take advantage of that? And then you learn in that little bit smaller pool and then jump out into the ocean with the sharks on the main slate. So that's just one thing I recommend to everybody that I talk to is practice on the smaller slates and then take your skills out to the bigger slates. It looks like we've got the 9 o'clock game here. I don't know if that's going to be lumped in and make this a 4-game slate, or if it's going to be lumped in and make this a 3-game slate. I have no idea. But if so, you've got Corbin, who's viable. Manaea's okay. Paxton probably is the lead dog. Stripling's another good one. Stripling on the main is a good one to get into Coors Field. But, you don't mind attacking the San Diego Padres for sure. But when I'm looking at these small slates, if I'm treating this as a 3-game slate, again, I don't see any bona fide chalk because people are going to take Stripling for bats. They're going to take Paxton for security. They might take some Corbin. They might even take Manaea chasing the name. So it might be spread out a little bit. I think they will attack Fernando Romero with Seattle, and I think they might attack Clayton Richard with some LA Dodgers bats, but then again, it's not like LA's going all that great. It's just one of those weird scenarios. What we're going to try and do, so nothing's really standing out on these slates. Oftentimes it does. Nothing is really standing out right now to me. Maybe as the day goes and we talk about this more in our Slack forums, we'll figure it out, get some more ideas. It's just not jumping to me. When I want to see what offenses are in good spots, I'm going to look at these game totals and these implied team totals. And I'm also looking for high numbers, over a 5. So the Yankees are obviously in play. When I scroll down a little bit here, the Red Sox are obviously in play. Coors Field is going to obviously be in play. The Rangers are obviously in play. Now, if you look a little bit deeper than I'm looking right now, I mean, almost 7 runs, come on. If you look a little bit deeper than I'm looking right now, you can find different things. I'm telling you superficially how most people are just going to go through their day and look and pick their bats. Yankees, Boston, Colorado, maybe some Texas. I've heard of all those guys. Great. So I'm going to stack 2, 3, 4 here, or 1, 2, 3 here, or whatever. And then I'm going to pick a pitcher based on what I did. If I like these bats, then I've got to go to Stripling or something. I might even run some John Gray. I don't know. But on a big slate like the main, things are going to get really spread out. There really is no such thing as massive chalk. So you can pretty much just play as you want to play and not worry about it too much. You're going to probably have a pretty unique lineup that can, if it goes right, can win you some tournaments. It's just the way that it goes on those big slates. On the smaller slates, you definitely need to pay a little bit more attention to it. Like on this 3-game 8 o'clock slate is when you would be paying attention to a little bit of the ownership, where you think it might go. But that training gives you very, very good experience for when you do come out on the main and you do see, a Max Scherzer with no Coors Field. When you see something like that, you know that people are going to be keying in on Max if there's no other choices, and you've got a little bit of experience in finding where can I fade that and where can I actually take advantage of that. We're going to look at the specific lineups that we liked: New York, Boston, Colorado, maybe some Seattle for a later slate, maybe some Texas. Let's look at those. Let's say those are the offenses that we like. We dive into the research station, okay? And we pick, say, New York. We said them first. I go to the Trends tab, and I look at the WOBAs, and I'm going to just look at the New York Yankees. If you want to find other offenses, there are other diamonds in the rough. Believe me, if you want to find other offenses, you've got to be a VIP to open up access to this page. But I'm looking at who's hot. Sanchez is hot. Hicks is hot. If Hicks leads off, that's a great thing. Romine, if he gets the start because Sanchez doesn't start for whatever reason, he's in a great spot. Tyler Austin, 350. Clint Frazier, 417. Probably not going to get the start. Andujar is coming up off his 285. He's trending up. I like to see that. And I come down here, Gardner to 380 is okay for WOBA. Torres at a 570 trending up. I like Gleyber Torres quite a bit. These are the bats that I'm going to be keying on. When I said Seattle, we'll take a look at them. Mitch Haniger's running pretty well. Segura not so much. Guillermo Heredia. So if Guillermo Heredia is in the bottom of the order, I might want to wrap it with something up top. If Haniger bats in the 2, great. If Segura leads off or bats in the 2, great. I might pair him up with some of those. I probably will not be running Nelson Cruz. Probably won't be running Mike Zunino. We're taking shots in the dark with those guys. We've got no indicator right now is telling me that they're even seeing the ball very well. So why would I take a chance on those guys? I'd rather stick with what I kind of know. Okay? It's not rated super high for the slate, but it's not terrible. What else did I say? I said Boston. So if I look at Boston, of course, Martinez and Betts have been going great all year. Benintendi's up there. I look down a little bit more. I might pair him with some Devers or some Moreland or something. I'd be looking for Sandy Leon to get the start. If he does, he's not a bad spot to be in. And that's just quickly looking at Boston. When I jump over to Texas, And then I'll jump into some of the pitching and show you the tiers and why I think what I think. Texas is not running that well as a team. Chu's running okay, and then your Profars and your Mazzaras are maybe okay and playable. But, I mean, why would you be taking Joey Gallo if he's only hitting a 258 WOBA right now? Why would you be taking Delino DeShields at 118? Why would you be taking Ryan Rua if he gets the start at an 069? They're not producing. Get off of them. So you can key in on an offense, and then you can key in on what are the hot bats within the offense and give yourself a little bit better chance at performing. And if you pick up on the right combination of stacks, that's why you run several lineups. Give me some Texas and New York. Give me some Boston and Texas. Give me some Texas and Oakland, or some Seattle and New York, or whatever. And when I start running around and taking picks at those different offenses, I'm hoping to get a couple of the offenses that went well and a couple of the bats within those offenses that went well. When that happens, I can easily beat 100 to 500 people in any given night and get paid. That's just how I philosophically approach the game of baseball. I don't expect much out of it, though. It's not one of those things where I'm really, really trying to be perfect, because I know I can't be perfect on any given night. I'm going to not be perfect on most nights, to be quite honest with you. Now, if we dive back into chin music and we look at this right here, I'm going to blow it up a little bit for you. When we look at the pitchers and picking who are we picking and why, you're going to start with a Max Scherzer at 12K, minus 225 favorite out of Vegas, 600K score, 99 DFSA grade in a pitcher's park in a weak offense. It doesn't get any better than that for Max Scherzer. He's the safest, highest upside pitcher on the slate. Granted, it's going to cost you. You may not want $2,000 to $2,500 bats all over your lineup, but they hit home runs too. And if you're running cash games, this is the safest method you could possibly employ to win tonight. Pardon the kids in the background. It's summertime. When you're looking at Corey Kluber, I mean, he's a pivot off of Max Scherzer. You might do that in tournaments as an ownership play. I don't personally understand it. It's a very, very large slate tonight. The ownership isn't going to be so concentrated on people with Coors Field and the Yankees at home and Boston at home. It's not going to be so concentrated in Coors Field anyway that you need to really, really focus on, some kind of high dollar pivot off of pitching. It doesn't make any sense to me. But could Kluber win the slate? Sure. If you think that he will, you think he ate his Wheaties this morning, go for it. I don't see enough reason with lower Vegas odds, a lower K score, and a lower DFSA grade facing a little better offense. I don't see the point in paying $900 less and not getting a quality, a very, very close to the same pitcher or more, or same matchup, or even better. I'm looking to get close to the Scherzer matchup if I'm trying to save some money. Otherwise, I might as well just pay up and take it. $1,400, Syndergaard, not going to do it. Even lower Vegas odds, even lower K score, it's just not going to do it for me. And in Milwaukee, in a hitter's park where Milwaukee can get off in a given night, no. James Paxton, okay, now we're starting to talk a little bit. We're down, $2,300? And I'm looking at a minus 180, so I've got a comparable Vegas odds. I've got, and it's not going to be comparable to the 600K score, but it's better than Kluber, right? It's the same K score with better Vegas odds and a similar rating and probably a lesser threatening offense facing him. James Paxton's in a better spot than Corey Kluber for $1,300 less. So I could actually use him to get off of Max Scherzer as well, most likely. Would I do it in cash games? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how much I'm able to find in terms of value bats and how much I like those value bats. If I'm really struggling to find quality bats, then yeah, I can come off Scherzer for Paxton. I don't want to, because Scherzer is going to be safer, and Scherzer has more upside than Paxton, especially in the matchup tonight. Would I take Corbin? No. Underdog versus big favorite? Smaller case? No. No point. I would come down to Stripling. I would skip all the 8K guys and whatever else, because I don't see any of them in equal or better spots than some of these guys. So I would just pay up to Paxton in the 8K range for the most part, or drop all the way down significantly, because now I'm $3,000 under Paxton, and I am almost $5,000. I am $5,000, $5,300 under Scherzer. I can upgrade some serious bats with that and start stacking offenses like I want to. I can take Stripling with the Yankees or with Boston or with Coors Field and have no issues. Really unload some power bats on some people, because Stripling's not in a bad spot. He's got a minus 200 out of Vegas. It's a little better than Paxton and, close to Scherzer. for $5,000 less. And it's a little better K, it's a little worse K score. I mean, I still like anything over a 500. So if I can get a 500 K score for under 7K, I'm loving it. I don't mind attacking the San Diego Padres. So what I see here is big favorite in Vegas, decent K score, and attacking the Padres in a pitcher's park. I don't mind. It sounds a lot similar to Scherzer, and I get to save $5,000 in doing so. I'm not saying he's my cash pitcher on the night, but I would run him in some tournaments and leagues and stuff in a heartbeat to get better bats, for sure. So that's how I break down those tiers, and that's how I start to compare what I'm looking for when it comes down to this kind of stuff. And I can run tonight, 3 or 4 Scherzer lineups or 1 or 2 cash Scherzer lineups, and then take 4 or 5 shots at Paxton and Stripling in tournaments, mixing up bats and stuff, and get a bunch of exposure to a bunch of the offenses that we like. Have a good safe lineup out there with head-to-heads, 3-mans and 10-man leagues and stuff in it. Hopefully grind up, some money. And then from there, try and hit the upside with the other stuff by going after the lesser pitchers and the bigger bats, and hope to really catch something that really puts me over the edge tonight. That's how I'm going to be approaching the slate tonight. Hopefully you think along the same lines, or you're learning to think along the same lines. And if you want to talk in more detail and you want to talk more strategy, more pivot, more chocolate, there are VIP articles coming out by all of our contributors today, and they will be all weekend long for all of the slates. There's no better place to talk one-on-one live with a coach like myself or other people than inside DFSArmy.com. So follow the link in the comments section down here. We'll wrap up Chop Talk in about 16 minutes here today, and we'll send you off into the holiday weekend with a beer and a salute to those that served and paid the ultimate price. Guys, come back on Monday or Tuesday, and you'll see me again. I don't know if I'll be doing a video that week. I don't know how much time I'll have, but I'm telling you, I'm going to try and do as many of these as complimentary, supplementary pieces to the writings that we do, just to let you know what's going on in case you're really pressed for time. So what are we at? 17 minutes now. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Send you out there with a beer. Pour one out for those that served, and I will catch you next week. Later, guys.